Hi there, welcome to the Manager's Tea Break. I'm Nikki, and thanks for spending your break with me. Today's episode is in need of a practical way to empower your direct reports. Try the GROW coaching model. The GROW model is a powerful framework for structuring coaching conversations. I thoroughly believe that managers who work on honing their coaching skills earn one of the best tools to empower their teams. I've already covered a few of the basics about coaching in some of my recent podcasts, asking open-ended questions and just what coaching is. If you haven't already listened to those, I suggest jumping back as a prerequisite before today's podcast, as you'll be more successful at your attempts to use the GROW model. What is a coaching model? According to the Peak Performance Center, a coaching model is a method designed to guide an individual through a process from where they currently are to where they want to be. The purpose of a coaching model is to create a framework for the coaching session so the coach can more effectively guide the coachee, the team member being coached, through the session. What is the GROW coaching model? The GROW model is one of the most well-known coaching models. It's a powerful framework for structuring coaching conversations and centers around 4 key phases. G stands for goal, R stands for reality, O stands for options, and W stands for way forward or will. Together, GROW. So the graphic is like a pie split into 4 quadrants. So first we have the goal, which is what do we want to achieve by the end of this meeting? Then we have the reality. What is happening now? What resources do we have? What resources do we need? Then options. What ideas can we come up with to achieve our goal? And W, will. What can we commit to? Who will do it? And by when? The model essentially helps you to structure the coaching conversation in a way that ensures you focus on actions. If you're not focused on an action, then you're just having a chat. It's not a coaching conversation. Each phase offers a roadmap for constructive conversations that empower team members to identify goals, confront realities, explore options, and commit to actionable plans. A good way of thinking about the GROW model is to think about how you'd plan a journey. First, you'd decide where you're going, the goal, and establish where you currently are, the reality. You then have to consider the various routes to your destination, the options. And finally, you choose a path, a way forward, and commit to the journey ahead. Let's go into a little more detail for each phase, starting with the goal phase. You should start the conversation by asking the team member, the coachee, to establish a goal. The goal should be possible to accomplish within the particular session. So if it's a large goal to be discussed, you need to help the team member narrow it down into more of a bite-sized piece. The goal can be a performance goal, a development goal, a decision to make, or a problem to solve. And you can start by simply asking the team member, what do you want to get out of the conversation today? Just ensure that it's a clear goal, so follow the SMART, S-M-A-R-T, SMART methodology as closely as you can, making sure it's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Up next is the reality phase. Encourage an open discussion about the current situation, the challenges, and the resources available. Help the team member to develop awareness of the current situation and explore how far they are from their goal right now. Discuss both internal and external factors. Third is the options phase. With the groundwork laid, it's time to brainstorm potential paths forward. Encourage your team member to brainstorm options and strategies, daring to consider options they would take if there were no restrictions. As the coach, you should not offer any options or direct advice on the options they share. Your team member is making the suggestions and will analyze later what is most appropriate for them. During this phase, simply note their options and ask for additional clarification. Challenge them with what they might do in hypothetical situations to foster their creativity. A great question during this phase is simply, what else? After each option, keep asking them. Challenge them to really visualize all the options on the table. Lastly, we have way forward. And again, this part is what differentiates a coaching conversation from a chat. In this conversation, we are driving towards the goal and driving towards action. So this final phase focuses on creating a concrete action plan. Based on the reality shared and the options discussed, ask the team member to choose the option they believe best. Establish a clear plan forward and ask how they will hold themselves accountable if it's not already clear. Directly ask for commitments. Some coaches also recommend to ask during this phase for how confident the team member is on a scale of 0 to 10 that they will follow through with their commitment. And if the answer is an 8 or lower, to push with additional open-ended questions to see why and what can be done to get it to a 9 or a 10. For me, as I do my coaching solely in the workplace, usually with direct reports, there is already some inherent accountability in this coaching session, as I will definitely be asking my reports about their progress. So I have rarely, if ever, asked that as one of my final questions. The GROW model in action. I think the easiest way to understand how this works in reality is to see some coaching in action. Unfortunately, we can't do that so easily with the podcast, and I've only ever found a few good examples online. So I would recommend, if you're listening to this, there'll be a link to my blog in the podcast description, and if you head there, you're going to have a few extra videos. First up is a 3-minute animation, which is a little bit cheesy, and maybe you'll notice that the coach doesn't ask for too many options, but I do think that's a really great first insight into how this GROW model all comes together in a workplace setting. And a better and longer example that I'll have there as well is a video from Southwest Coaching. It's a 7-minute video, but it really nicely shows how this GROW model comes together. And I also think that it shows that you don't need to have a formal, hour for a coaching conversation, that a coaching conversation can be done in as little as a 5-10 minute conversation. So what's the most important part of the GROW model? During a GROW coaching session, you'll find you tend to spend the most time in the reality and the options phases. It takes time to let the team member really think about their situation and clearly list all the options on the table. However, the most important part of the GROW session, if you find yourself pressed for time, for example, is actually the ends, the GROW and the way forward phases. Remember, this is a coaching conversation focused on action. So if you've jumped into the reality without understanding where you need to go, you're unlikely to finish the conversation in line with what the coachee was aiming for. And similarly, if you've run out of time before the way forward part, then the team member has done a lot of talking, shared a lot of their problems, but has no solution when they walk out of your office. So both you and your team member will probably end up feeling frustrated. Even though talking through the reality might have helped somewhat, it's surely not as impactful as walking away with a clear action item that the team member has thought of and decided to go for themselves. As a result, always keep one eye to the time and make sure you are moving effectively through the phases so you have a goal in mind and end the session with an action. Even if you didn't have time to exhaust all the possible options, you've given your team members some time to think, and that's resulted in a commitment to move forward. So takeaways from today's podcast is the GROW model is a powerful framework for coaching conversations. It stands for goal, reality, options, and way forward or will. And during a coaching conversation, using this model will help you to drive towards a goal and towards action. Thanks for listening. I'll see you in next month's episode, and follow my blog for more content.